I used to think old people were easy targets. That's going to sound horrible to some of you, but when you spend years drifting from town to town with no real job, no family, and just enough charm to fake a panic attack at somebody's front door, you stop thinking about people like they're human. You start seeing them as opportunities, and for almost 6 years, it worked. I'd knock on a door late at night, usually somewhere quiet and rural where neighbors were spread apart. I'd look terrified, sweaty, out of breath. Then I'd say something like, "Please, I need help. My wife's hurt. My phone died." Most elderly couples wouldn't even hesitate. The moment the door unlocked, that was it. Sometimes I stole wallets, sometimes jewelry, cash, medication, whatever I could grab before disappearing. And the worst part, nobody ever fought back until that night. I was driving through northern Pennsylvania during a thunderstorm when I saw the house. Small, white paint peeling off the wood siding, one porch light flickering in the rain. Perfect. The place looked ancient, like the people inside were probably ancient too. I pulled over about 100 yards away and killed the headlights. Rain hammered against the windshield while I watched the house for movement. Nothing. No dogs, no lights turning on, no cars in the driveway besides an old rusted pickup. Easy. I grabbed my soaked jacket and practiced the same expression I'd used 100 times before. Scared, desperate, harmless. Then I walked to the front porch. The wood creaked under my boots. I knocked 3 times. For a while, nothing happened. Then I heard movement inside. Slow footsteps. An old man's voice called out. "Who is it?" I forced panic into my voice. "Sir, please, I need help." My car slid off the road. Silence. Then several locks clicked open one by one. The door slowly creaked inward. An elderly man stood there holding a lantern. He looked about 75, thin, gray beard, wrinkled hands. Behind him, sitting in a rocking chair, was an older woman wrapped in a blanket. Exactly the kind of people I usually targeted. The old man studied me quietly. Something about his expression bothered me. He didn't look scared. He looked curious. "You're soaked," he said calmly. "You should come inside." That should have felt like success. Instead, I suddenly felt uneasy. The house smelled strange. Not rotten, not dirty, metallic, like wet pennies. I stepped inside anyway. Big mistake. The old woman stared at me from across the room without blinking once. Not normal staring either. She looked at me like she already knew something about me. The old man shut the door behind me. Slowly. Too slowly. "You say your car crashed?" he asked. "Yeah," I lied quickly. "Just down the road." That was all he said. Just, Then silence filled the room. The rain battered the windows while the grandfather clock ticked loudly somewhere deeper in the house. Tick, tick, tick. I started scanning the room for valuables. A silver watch on the table, a purse hanging near the kitchen. Easy money. But something felt wrong. Every instinct in my body started screaming at me to leave. The old woman finally spoke. "You've done this before." My stomach dropped. I forced a nervous laugh. "What?" She tilted her head slightly. "You go house to house, pretending to need help." I froze. The old man still stood near the door behind me, not moving, not blinking, just watching. I tried smiling. "I think you've got the wrong idea." Then the old man quietly said, "No, I think she's got the right one." Something changed in the room after he said that. The air suddenly felt heavier, like I had walked into something I wasn't supposed to see. I glanced toward the front door. The old man noticed and smiled. Not kindly. That's when I saw it. Mud on the floor near the hallway. Fresh mud, like someone had just walked inside from the woods. Heavy footprints, much larger than the old man's. Then, thunk. A loud sound came from upstairs. My heart nearly stopped. Another thunk. Slow, heavy footsteps. The old woman never looked away from me. "He's awake," she whispered. I remember every hair on my arm standing up. The old man sighed softly like he was disappointed. "You should have kept driving." The footsteps upstairs grew louder. Boom, boom, boom. Not old footsteps, not weak footsteps. Whoever was upstairs sounded massive. Then I heard something metallic scrape across wood. A long dragging sound. The hallway behind me suddenly felt too dark. Way too dark. I backed toward the door. "I think I should go," I said. Neither of them answered. Then the footsteps stopped completely. Silence. Absolute silence. And from the top of the stairs, I heard breathing. Deep, slow, animal-like breathing. A figure slowly emerged from the darkness upstairs. At first, I only saw his shoulders. Huge. Then I saw the rifle in his hands. My entire body locked up. The first night it happened, I thought someone was messing with me. At the time, I was working overnight security at a small strip mall just outside town. Nothing special, just a row of dark stores, a laundromat, a vape shop, a closed diner, and an old pawn shop that always smelled like mildew and rust. My shift started at 10 p.m. and ended at sunrise, and honestly, it was the easiest job I'd ever had. Most nights, I spent hours sitting in the security office, watching old cameras and scrolling through my phone. Nobody ever came around. No customers, no employees, just silence. But I had a secret. Sometimes, I stole things. Nothing huge. A pack of batteries from the convenience store. Loose cash from the arcade machines, snacks, small electronics people wouldn't notice missing. I told myself it didn't matter. The stores made enough money anyway. At first, everything felt normal, until the laughter started. It was around 2:13 in the morning. I remember the exact time because the sound made me look up at the monitor clock immediately. It was quiet 1 second. Then suddenly, a woman laughed, soft, low. Like she was standing right behind me. I froze. Every hair on my arms stood up. I turned around fast, but nobody was there. The office door was locked. The hallway outside was empty. I sat there staring into the darkness for almost a full minute before convincing myself I imagined it. But deep down, I knew I hadn't. The next night, it happened again. This time, it was closer. A whisper right beside my ear. "Stephen." I nearly fell out of my chair. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it. Nobody at work called me Stephen. Everyone called me Steve. Only family used my full name. I grabbed my flashlight and rushed outside the office, checking every hallway and corner of the strip mall. Nothing. No footprints. No open doors. No people. But when I came back into the office, one of the monitors was covered in static. Just one. Camera 7. The hallway behind the pawn shop. And in the middle of the static, for half a second, I saw a face, pale, smiling. Then the screen went black. After that night, things got worse. The laughter followed me everywhere. I'd hear it echoing through empty stores, sometimes from inside locked bathrooms, sometimes directly outside the office door. Always a woman, always laughing, and every single time I opened the door, the hallway was empty. I stopped sleeping properly after that. Every shift felt wrong, like someone was watching me from somewhere I couldn't see. Then one night around 3 a.m., I saw him, a tall figure standing near the laundromat entrance, completely still. At first I thought it was a customer, but something about him felt off. He was too tall, too thin, and he wasn't moving at all. I radioed dispatch and started walking toward him with my flashlight shaking in my hand. "Sir?" No response. "Hey, the property's closed." Still nothing. Then the figure slowly tilted its head, not like a normal person, too far, like its neck bent wrong. I stopped walking immediately. My stomach dropped. And then it spoke. "Stephen." The voice sounded wet, broken, like multiple voices talking at once. I turned around and sprinted back toward the office without even thinking. I locked the door behind me and checked the cameras immediately, but the parking lot was empty. Nothing near the laundromat. No figure, no person, just an empty sidewalk under flickering lights. I replayed the footage 3 times. Nothing ever appeared on camera. That's when I started believing something was seriously wrong. A week later, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I stole again. The pawn shop owner kept stacks of old watches in a drawer under the counter. I'd noticed them during patrols, cheap stuff mostly, easy to pocket. That night, after making sure nobody was around, I unlocked the shop and slipped inside. The entire store smelled rotten for some reason, stronger than usual. I remember feeling this awful pressure in my chest the second I entered, like I wasn't supposed to be there, but I ignored it. I opened the drawer, and suddenly, the laughter exploded around me. Not one woman this time. Dozens, men, women, children, laughing from every direction at once. The lights inside the pawn shop shut off instantly, complete darkness. I dropped the watches and grabbed my flashlight. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it steady. Then I heard footsteps moving between the aisles, slow, dragging, closer, closer. I pointed the flashlight toward the shelves and saw someone standing at the back of the store, tall, motionless, that same twisted figure. Its face looked stretched into this impossible smile.